We should be going live here momentarily. I clicked on it, and there she goes.
So we can do,
And there we are. It
we can
always
do.
starts off in red for whatever reason. And then it goes over to orange, and then sometimes green, and back to orange. For my live stream health. But we're
Okay,
live. We are live.
I've got it there now, and I'm just going over to the chat. I'll turn the sound off here. I'm just going to pop the chat box out so that I can chat on there. Hang on, pop out chat. Then when guys come along, they can see the chat. I can see the chat.
There you
Okay,
go.
yeah, I can see the. I've got the feed. I'm going to mute the feed off here,
And there you go. So then
and I
you
think
should be
we're
set
away.
to go, ready to go there. So as you can see, I did a live stream yesterday night, and I sort of told people I'd be here today with the Global Man, Peter Nolan over here. So I want to use the Global Man just because I think it's a change of pace,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's fine.
even though you know who we all are. Okay, but anyhow, so it's happening again, isn't it, Peter?
Sorry.
So you got your own "It's Happening Again" series going.
Yeah, I got a bit of a series going there because you know the young guys have to be reminded on a regular basis that women do some terrible things, and the men are getting fed up, and it's happening again. I mean, the one this week that I did, it was heartbreaking to do it. Was the one where the woman drowned a little 5-year-old boy, putting rocks in his backpack and going into a reservoir and drowning a little 5-year-old boy because she didn't want the little 5-year-old boy to go with
Well,
his
no, I
father.
mean, that would be sending the baby monster off with the adult monster, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then, so I'm picking these articles out and I do that one. And then the next one I did was the one where the Russian guy killed his Russian wife and the two kids. And so you know what's going on there. They've come across from Russia to America. She's got into the armed services. They've got naturalized, and she's like, okay, well, now time to rape my husband in the divorce courts, and he's just okay. I'm going to kill everyone, right?
Yeah, there you
And
go.
they're sad stories, but they're stories that have to be told, and they have to be told over and over and over again to make sure everyone understands this is why this is happening, right?
Well,
This is why it's happening.
we can point out the root cause, but I find in the manosphere, unfortunately, as sad as it is, the majority of people run from root causes.
Yeah, yeah, they don't want to know. They certainly don't want to know.
So, and if you're going to run from the root cause, I like to tell them this way. So, if you got to take your car down to the auto mechanic, he needs to just focus on symptoms. Fuck the cause and charge you money if you give your car back broke, okay? If your air
Yeah,
conditioner or furnace breaks down, don't worry about the cause. All we need to know is the symptom, right?
yeah, yeah. That's right. Let's not put new oil in the car. Let's just top up the oil that's there. We don't need to put new oil in,
No,
or
you don't
or
need it.
whatever.
Yeah. You got an oil leak? Hold on, I got a piece of bubble gum. Here, fix it with that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll fix that oil leak, and we'll just top it up a little bit. Don't need to put any new oil in it. And this is how it is. I mean, people people are not listening. I remember going public in June 2008. I went onto the relationship blog in the Sydney Morning Herald, the largest newspaper in Australia, and I was saying to the women, if you keep at this criminal abuse of men, and you don't hold women accountable for their crimes, men are going to get so angry they're actually going to start killing the women and the children, not just themselves, right?
Oh, that's
Because
it.
back in 2008, the male suicide rate was skyrocketing, but it was relatively rare back then for the guy to go full hockey mask time and kill the wife and kids, right? It happened
Yes.
occasionally in the US, it happened occasionally in the UK, but it never happened in Australia. And everyone said, "Oh, you're crazy, Peter. No man would ever kill his wife and kids. I mean, that would just be too monstrous to consider. It'll never happen."
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Uh
right.
huh.
Yeah,
You want to pinch yourself now and wake up, please?
yeah, yeah. And now, last year in Australia, that happened 3 times alone. Just in Australia alone, last year, 3 times, and twice in Western Australia within 30 miles of each other.
But
There
you
were
know,
two cases right next to each other in Western Australia.
it's gonna go up. The number's gonna crawl up.
Going up. And people are saying now, how could this possibly happen? How could this man be such a monster as to kill his wife and children? We don't understand. It's like you understand perfectly well. We've been telling you for 11 years. It's not like we're just dropped out of the ether and started talking now, right?
Oh, that's it. That's it. It's not like it's just we just started talking about this stuff, you know. And if you pay attention over here in the states, if you really pay attention, we have plants here on YouTube that are actually agents. They're probably working for military, media, industrial complex, and they're in the manosphere. And you got to
Yeah,
really pay attention. Like Coach Red Pill, that's a good example of a plant. That's an agent, okay. And I do firmly believe that Monday Forever on Monday is most likely an agent. And
yeah,
people say why? It's well, the narrative is simple. It's like I told them yesterday. You know, for decades and decades and decades, as far back as you want to go, sex was not the main focus of the topic. The people didn't talk about sex. Oh, you got together with a female, you and your female private talked about sex with each other. This was normal. And of course, nature, you're normally, if you were with a female and you're in a relationship, you have sex. This is normal. We all know this. It doesn't have to be at the front of the line. But in today's society, we got all this talk going on all over the net. Sex, 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 everything's sex, 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 right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so what we really have going on is they took the Hollywood actor Elliot Rogers and they did their little stage show up in California. And then we have theme exercise drill down there in Parkland. And then we have another exercise drill over in Canada with a van. And all of these different incidences that are phony, these phony killers idolize who? The first actor, Elliot Rogers. Okay.
yeah,
And
yeah,
of course, now we've taken TFL and Incel, lumped them into one category. And of course, this is going to also include MGTOW because it's the manosphere. What are we doing? We're speaking up the truth against the opposite gender. But what does TFL do? TFL likes to talk about where these problems come from, the root cause.
yeah,
So what they're doing is they've made their running list to pass laws. It'll be a mental health law against people in the manosphere. Of course, that's not going to be global because we're in the United States. But for the men in the United States, you better look out for that because they're moving in. And no, why? People say, why would they do that? Just shut us up.
yeah, yeah. This all pervasive hate speech is being extended to anything that offends a woman or anything that a woman even claims she's offended about. You want to hear a good one this week? This is how ridiculous it is, right?
Uh huh.
This is how utterly ridiculous it is. It happened this week. So I'm on LinkedIn and I used LinkedIn, right?
Right.
And I was talking in this discussion about how women condone perjury, et cetera, et cetera. And this woman sends me a message and says, I'm a former police officer. She's in the US, Baltimore, or somewhere else like that, right? Somewhere starting with B. Says, I'm a former policewoman, blah, 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 blah. And I can assure you that women always get longer sentences than men. doesn't matter what the crime is, the women are always getting longer sentences than men.
What
And
a
I'm like,
joke.
and I'm like, one of the problems you women have is you are such liars and you're prepared to tell such lies in the full view of the public. And you expect us to swallow these lies. And then if we don't swallow the lies, you claim that we're misogynists and hate you. Oh, yeah, well, she got all my LinkedIn accounts shut down. So three LinkedIn accounts she got shut down because I offended her by saying that she was a liar when she said that women always get longer sentencing than men. This is how ridiculous it is. And of course, when a woman goes for censorship and she achieves the censorship by telling more lies, every time a woman goes for censorship just proves that men are better than women, right?
Well,
Just proves it.
when you go for censorship, that's about shutting somebody up.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
you
and
don't have an argument, right?
exactly. And if you want to shut somebody up, it means it's just like going up against, okay, if I was to try to get on Karen Stroud, girls' rights, what the feminist man, man hating MRA leader, okay? Or if I
Yeah, the
wanted to do,
world's
if I
the
wanted
world's
to do,
best known MRA.
right. If I wanted to do a live stream with her or somebody like Monday Forever Alone Monday or Coach Red Pill, you know, they're not going to let me on their live stream. They can't debate me. They couldn't win the debate.
Yeah, that's right.
So the best thing they can do is just ignore, ignore, ignore. And that's what you observe for years now is when you start talking about root causes. Nobody wants to know about the root cause. They don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear more whining and bitching about the symptoms.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
it gets worse. It escalates. You're sitting there scratching your head, going, "I don't understand why it's getting worse."
yeah. I don't understand why it's getting worse. We've never done anything to solve the problem, but I don't understand why it's getting worse. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's amazing, and the vitriol from women being directed at men for no reason at all is getting stronger and stronger. They're just carrying on. I mean, I was a good example is I was on Twitter today, right?
Right.
And this woman from Australia is bad mouthing me and slandering me and lying about me and all the rest of it. And I say, well, I'm pretty much done with this. You've admitted that you're not interested in making sure that women get prosecuted for their crimes. You've already admitted that by not even being willing to discuss it. And so, well, after I say I'm done, she says, "Oh well, I have two sons." She says, right, and I say, "Well, just I put back another uh, uh, tweet saying, "Well, I love your sons more than you do because I spent the last 12 years defending your sons. You've just spent half an hour slandering me and lying about me, the man who's been defending your sons, and that makes you a bad mother." Oh, well, the stream of absolute hatred that came out of her Twitter bio when I said she was a bad mother, right? But this is what they do. I mean, she's just hurling lies and insults and slander at me. And on Twitter, I speak in my own name, in my own voice, and they're just going to hurl lies and slander at you. And this is a woman with sons who's never done anything to defend her sons. One day, if you've got two boys under the age of 18, those boys are not going to make it to the age of 65 without a false allegation against them for something or other.
Yeah.
They during their life, those boys are going to have many, many, many instances of false allegations made, and their mother's hurling abuse at me on Twitter because that's how you defend your sons. You hurl abuse at a man on Twitter, right?
Yeah. That's it. That's it. You
And
know.
that's today. Another day in the Twitterverse is women hurling abuse at a man. What else is news?
Well, but we got to look at the reality. How come women act the way they do? How come they're so openly to do it? Because we spent years placing them above ourselves. We didn't hold them accountable for anything they ever done. we turn our head and look the other way, and we attack the man that tries to hold him accountable.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's what we do. Everyone, any man who says, "Oh well, women should be getting the same sentencing for the same crime," well, that's not only you hate all women and etc. That's heresy because the women are their gods and their religion, and it's heresy. It's
I
like
don't know.
blasphemy.
In today's society, I don't think the women are their gods. I think the guys worship their vagina.
Yeah, well, to be more specific about exactly what it is that they're worshiping, but but certainly, they worship the women, they worship the golden V, and you know that's what's getting them in trouble. And the number of men. There was a case just on Twitter this weekend. I was talking to the Minister for Justice and Equality, right? So this isn't just anyone I'm talking to. This is the Minister for Justice and Equality, who I'm in email contact with as well, who is currently still committing crimes against me. That's who I'm talking to, not just some Joe on Twitter, right?
Right.
And last week they passed some legislation in Ireland which would apparently strengthen the perjury laws and strengthen the ability of the government to punish people for perjury, right? So of course I'm on there with Charles Flanagan saying, "Hey Charles, this is completely ridiculous, this legislation, because we all know that you condone women's perjury in a divorce court, right? You've been doing it for years. We all know you condone it. And here you are doing like a PR thing, a photo opportunity and a statement about this new legislation, etc. We all know that you condone perjury. We all know all the women condone it. We all, I'm saying this sort of thing. Oh, well, this woman attacks me, right? This woman comes out of the woodwork and attacks me. Like, well, I said to her, have you ever demanded from Charles that women who commit perjury are prosecuted? Oh, well, no, that's not my job. So, well, what is your job? You come here and you started yelling at me. What is your job exactly? What do you do for a job, right? Oh, well, I used to be in the defense services in Ireland, like the armed services. Oh, your job was defending Irish people, was it? Yes. Well, you did a really lousy job of it because and she's retired apparently. So you did a really lousy job of it because now you're over 65. You know all this has been going on in the divorce courts, and you haven't done anything about it. And here you're coming along attacking me, talking about women committing perjury in the divorce courts, and you say your job was you're supposed to defend Irish people. Oh well, not like defending Irish people in the divorce courts. That
Oh
wasn't my
well.
job.
Well, yeah.
Oh really, really?
So
Oh,
what?
you're
What
in
is?
the
What's he really saying, Peter? He's saying, "Well, I am defending the humans because the only humans are women."
Yeah, yeah. And in through all this discussion, in comes this white knight who then has to white knight for her. How dare you speak to this charming woman like this? You're such a bad man. Oh, and this just goes on. It's endless. And people say to me, why do you support the depopulation program? It's like, well, just look at just go onto Twitter any day of the week and tell me you don't support the depopulation program. We need to get rid of some of these useless eaters. I mean, it's unbelievable. You just read what people are willing to say in the public now. It's unbelievable.
Well, they
So
do. They say almost anything anymore and get by with it, especially if they got that, um, that vagina between their legs.
yeah,
But if
and
you
all the
have the
men,
penis, look out, look out.
yeah, but all the men pandering to them, endlessly pandering, endlessly pandering, endlessly pandering. Doesn't matter what was said. Doesn't matter what the conversation is. Doesn't matter who's right. Doesn't matter who's wrong. None of that matters. I have to pander to the women because, you know, maybe this. What are they thinking? I'm pandering to a woman because maybe she'll do something for me. What over the internet? What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
But this just goes on endlessly. And I'm on my Twitter now. I'm using my own name, so I'm very, what you and I would consider very reserved in my comments. I mean, it's a business account, so it's as reserved as what you would expect in a business account. So
If
I'm
it's a
saying
business account, you're being very, very careful about your wording.
very
Uh,
careful about my wording. Well, as
exactly.
I was on my LinkedIn account, didn't help, but I'm saying things like, I really recommend that you women get together and start working towards equal sentencing for women with the same energy and vigor you work towards equal pay and equal rights. Oh, you're a complete misogynist for that. It's like, it's 2019, and that's a pretty innocuous statement, right?
So let's
I
see, you're a misogynist for wanting what the women claim it was about, equality.
Yeah, equal sentencing. Well, this was never about
Yeah,
equal sentencing. This was about getting more money for less work, right?
that's exactly what it's about. It's always the opposite. When you pay attention to a woman, if she says she likes something, most likely she don't like it.
Yeah,
Because she
yeah,
likes to tell the opposite. And of course, you, the guy, you're supposed to know she says everything ass backwards.
yeah. It's just, I mean, I don't think this is going to end well, right? I just don't think this is going to end well because the men are getting angrier and angrier, and more fed up, and some are walking off the plantation, but some are just angry enough to go hockey mask type, right? And the number of men who are angry enough to go hockey mask time is going up, and it's going to keep going up. I think at least if they stop today, if these women and their accomplices in government, because they have accomplices in government and accomplices with the police and all the rest of it, if they stop today and say we're really sorry and started handing out compensation payments and all the rest of it, all these young men who've come through this, who aren't going to get anything, they're going to be no less angry for their entire lifetimes, right? They're
That's
not going to
it.
be any less angry, and they're going to, it's only going to take one thing to set them off, and they'll go hockey mask time,
Well,
and that's
that's just it. I said it years ago. People's got the skill down fine. Women have created the skill. They got it down to an art. How to create their very own killer.
yeah,
They
yeah,
literally
because they
do.
don't,
They have it down to an art.
yeah, because they just don't care about how abusive they are towards men, and they don't care about men at all. We're not even human beings to them, and so it's like, yeah, I can do anything I want to this person, to this man, and he's not going to respond, and away you go. Well, it's not gonna wind up like that. And I'll give you another example just from the week that was. Right, guess we let's make this topical from the week that was. That Ukrainian lens who's out husband hunting on YouTube, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Ukrainian lens is husband hunting. It's obvious from day one she was husband hunting. And I put a comment on one of her videos this week about somebody else who went full hockey mask time. And I said that you want to watch my channel because I'm going to have a series on men killing women this week. So you might want to watch that, right? And she said, what was her response? Her response was, well, I'm never going to get divorced, so I don't have to worry about being killed.
Oh yeah, right.
And I went, oh, really? So I said, okay, well, let's talk about that, right? You're not going to get divorced, so you don't have to worry about being killed in one of these hockey mask time things. Let's talk about that. What if you get married and then your husband decides he wants a divorce and he knows you're going to destroy his life? What's he going to do? And I said, we're starting to see more stories where, husband and wife go to Mexico for a holiday or South America for a holiday or something else. And she's just mysteriously mugged, and in a mugging gone wrong, manages to get killed. We're seeing more stories like this, right? And I said to her, I don't know for sure, but I would bet my bottom dollar that some of these muggings and robbings that are happening while couples are on holidays, I bet my bottom dollar some of those are organized. I would bet my bottom dollar.
Yeah, that was a planned vacation. That was a planned holiday.
Yeah, I'm sure, and you see these coming up occasionally now. I'm like, I read these ones of wifey attacked in Mexico or something. I'm like, that guy's gotten rid of his wife very effectively, because obviously the Mexican police are not going to investigate it, and the U.S. police can't go down there, or other countries. You're seeing these stories come out occasionally, and they're presented as, oh, this was a real tragedy, etc.,
Well,
etc.
as you know, Peter, it's always a tragedy if it's a woman. I mean,
Yeah,
even if she kills her own child, well, poor her, she was mentally depressed. You know, poor her, she's mentally depressed and she killed her child because she was mentally depressed. But if a guy does it, that monster, that murderer, that this,
yeah,
that, you know,
yeah.
all the foul language comes out. But when a woman does it, poor her.
Poor baby. Yeah.
Yeah,
So with Ukrainian lens, we continued on the conversation. I said, how about the next situation? How about you have a daughter, maybe, and how about your daughter grows up and gets married, and she wants to divorce her husband or he wants to divorce her? How about that situation happening, right?
yeah.
And then I go, and what about this one? What about this situation where the men are now so angry within society, they just decide, we're just going to take it out on whoever happens to be around us right now. We're just going to take it out on whoever happens to be around us right now. What about that?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't think that'll happen. I'm like, yeah, you don't think that'll happen?
Hey, you know what's funny, even funnier about this? How do you not think stuff ain't gonna happen? Have anybody ever backed up and looked at our behaviors?
Yeah, yeah. So the men, you can just see it. I mean, you if you just go and talk to guys online and you see the behavior that men are starting to exhibit, etc., etc., they're getting angry, they're getting frustrated, more and more so, entirely justifiably so, and the more men are going to pop, more men are going to go hockey
Oh,
mask
they
time.
are, they are. You know, and the sad thing is you got that little clip I played like over here in America, the two guys talking. And of course, they're like centered in on the incel guys, which they've lumped TFL in the middle of that. But that's going to wind up being all the manosphere, so it ain't going to matter if you're MGTOW, if you're incel, if you're TFL, it ain't going to matter. But what they're
Yeah,
really wanting to do is this. Okay, so we get together online and we talk about these things like Peter and I talking about now. Okay, so then what happens is the people who are in our chat here, well, Peter, did you realize that you and I just created ISIS?
oh yeah,
Maybe,
we're
yeah,
radicalizing men.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe we're creating our own cult group, right? And we're going to be a cult, right? Even
yeah.
though that's not what we're doing. But this is what they want to say we're doing so that they can justify coming after us to shut us up because they don't like the fact we're telling the truth.
Yeah, it's hate speech. It's
Yeah.
hate speech, inciting violence, right? When you say, if you women keep aggravating these men, you women keep committing crimes against these men, you keep giving them no peaceful path to justice. Some of them are going to go full hockey mask time and kill some women. Oh, you incited violence. The
Yeah.
women committing, not the women committing the crimes, not the police letting them get away with it. No. It's the men pointing it out. We're inciting violence.
Oh, well, that's because you're not allowed to point it out. You're supposed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
shut your mouth, know your place, and bend over and get the lube out.
yeah. Or even without lube, bend over, no
Oh, there
lube
you
for
go.
you,
No,
right?
that's even worse, right?
Yeah. So this is what's going on, and although we laugh about it, more and more people, especially women, are going to be killed. The women and kids are going to be killed, and what's to be done about it? Nothing. We've talked to, like, this week. Just I thought I'd get a new Twitter and have a bit of a play around on Twitter, right? This would be my 10th Twitter, and I'm talking to like the head of the Australian Federal Police in Australia, the talking to a guy called Mark Latham in Australia, he's a very long term politician, talking to the police commissioner in New South Wales and things like that, and just saying, it's been been 10 years now, nearly 10 years since I took a video inside the Australian Federal Magistrates Court proving the criminality of the courts, and you guys have got it. And here you are 10 years later, and you're still doing nothing. Don't try and talk about your credibility. Don't try and talk about what a good person you are. Don't try and be telling us and moralizing towards us. You know this is going on, and you did nothing, right? And now that it's coming up 10 years in November, it'll be 10 years since I took that video, and nobody can say. I mean, it's impossible to say, "Oh, well, we didn't know." I mean, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, it's on video, right? And you all had a copy of it to try and deny it. Well, I didn't know that this was the case. It's just completely ludicrous. They're still doubling down. They're still trying to say, no, 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 I don't know. I know nothing. I know nothing. They're still trying. They're still blocking. They're still ignoring and all the rest of it. And men are taking that and they're going, well, 10 years, huh? We can have a piece of video inside a divorce court proving that they're criminal, abusing men, causing the suicides of many men. We can actually video record it and publish it, excuse me, and no one will do anything.
That's
Okay,
it.
well, I know what my chances are if I stand up. If my wife wants to divorce me and destroy my life, I know what my chances are of getting out of that in one piece. Precisely zero. So I think I'll just hockey mask time it, right? That's what's going on.
Yep, that's exactly it. I was looking at the comments here, and Mr. Marlins, they're talking about turd flinging monkey. Okay, that's the other guy. I'm pretty well positive the guy's military intelligence. He's a plant. But they say, well, no, and I say, well, all you got to do is really look at it. He's mocking you. If you take and read the name backwards, what do you got? Monkey stands for man. Okay,
Yeah,
flinging turd stands for propaganda. Bullshit. Okay, so what you have
yeah,
is a man flinging propaganda bullshit, and that's what media does. That's what they do all the time. And so and I told people before, one thing you can do that'll definitely identify agents is they'll talk about everything under the God's green earth in the manosphere, but when it comes to the root cause, they will never address it. They will ignore you and never, ever, ever, ever touch the root cause. And
yeah,
and that's right there is the big red flag. That's like the elephant in the room. If you
yeah,
can't touch the root cause, it's because there's an agenda behind what you're doing.
yeah. I mean, TFM, a buddy of mine got me on TFM show, Mario Morris, and they didn't know I was coming on. And when I was talking about how a buddy of mine in Ireland got out of paying alimony and child support, they just mocked me and laughed at me and lied about me. And they go, wouldn't an example of how a man didn't pay alimony and child support be interesting to you guys? No, apparently not. That's not interesting to DTJ and TFM, right? That's not
Of
interesting.
course not. That wouldn't be interesting when you're
Uh,
shield for the government and part of the system.
yeah, and then I said, I got a guy out of a hostile divorce in Australia. All the usual things: accused of beating her, accused of cheating on her, blah blah blah. The whole story. And I said, I sent her one notice, and the cops disappeared. The lawyer dropped her. I said, and also, I got him out of paying 50,000 Australian dollars worth of credit card debt, mostly of hers, right?
Yeah,
And DDJ goes, well, he should have paid his share of the credit card debt. I said, why? The whole credit card debt thing is phony anyway. Why should he be paying that? Well, you should pay for what you use. I'm like, well, this is your takeaway from this. I tell you a story about a man whose wife attacks him in the Australian divorce courts, walks away scot free. And the bit of that story you want to discuss is the few $1,000s of his credit card debt that he didn't pay. Not the $45,000 of her credit card debt that he didn't have to pay, but his little bit of credit card debt, 4 or 5 grand that he didn't have to pay. That was DDJ's bit he wanted to talk about. So it was very obvious just writing that conversation, like, well, DDJ's not legit, and DDJ's obviously a an agent, and I was always wondering about TFM, and he did say at some point in time that he was in the military intelligence. So I was like, yeah, well, if he was in the military intelligence, that would explain why he's able to do so well here on YouTube, where everyone else gets
Well,
suppressed
I try to tell people, pay
to the
attention.
nines.
The military industrial complex has a branch of the military office, but which is the intelligence unit, and it's actually been named what it is: military and industrial media complex. And why did they put media there? Because if you pay attention, the powers to be control everything down the line, including your military. Okay, and they used the military to control mainstream media, alternative media, and what was the reason that they put the gun to the head of the owners of YouTube and took them to court and stole YouTube from them, and Google got it? You say they didn't steal it, they paid for it. Yeah, with a gun to their head. Okay,
Yeah,
because you had to haul them to court to get it from them. Okay, so because YouTube was the unforeseen media, and they had control over all forms of media and all major newspapers and magazines already in their pocket. And here come YouTube, right? So what have they done
yeah,
now that they got ownership of YouTube? They plant their agents and see. So turd flinging monkey, he is military intelligence. He's working military media industrial complex, guaranteed. And you pay attention, even when he did that video and he laid out and he separated the manosphere out by the categories, the names from MGTOW to
yeah,
Incel to TFL, blah, blah, blah. He lumped TFL and Incel together, okay? And when you pay attention to all the reports going on about Incel, well, it's just guys who can't get sex. Just guys who can't get sex because sex has been put at the front on the foremost of everything, and it's going to be easy to attack you because when all of you go along with, yeah, we can't get sex, yeah, we can't get sex, this is what they're going to do. So men are angry perverts. That's right.
yeah,
I hope you enjoy being a pervert. Now, I'm not calling you a pervert, but your mainstream media and the authorities that done this to us, they're not going to hesitate. They're going to call you a pervert because you're complaining about you can't put your junk between somebody else's junk, okay? And it's going to be
yeah,
used against you as a weapon. And so I try to tell people, stop talking about sex. Okay?
yeah.
Peter don't have to talk about sex to talk what he's talking, and he's still gonna piss him off, and he never even mentioned sex.
Yeah, yeah. I mean the whole, like, there's virtually an industry on the internet now, men teaching other men how to get laid. You know,
Oh no.
that's an industry out there. Now it's starting to die off a little bit. I mean, the game industry is starting to die off with just the amount of false allegations and things like that. The younger men are like, yeah, well, I'm rolling the dice on this. Every time I do this, I'm rolling the dice. I could wind up with a false allegation, and they are going to throw me in jail, right? So even the teach young men how to get sex industry is decreasing. But notice that you're now starting to see women come online and start women teaching, quote, men how to get sex off women. That's happening, like this Marnie Your Wing Girl and these sort of people. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like a woman is trying to charge men money to tell men how to get laid. This is getting right out of
Oh
control.
yeah, I know. That just because now your new pickup artist is a female.
Yeah. Yeah, your new pickup artist who's going to tell you how to get women is a woman. Yeah, right. Well,
Right.
that's
Just
really
like
gonna work.
just like the men's rights movement. The leader for men's rights is a woman that's done nothing in the entire 8 years that she's been here.
Yeah, she came in. She came in. I think it was October or November 2011. It was late
In around that
2011,
area, yes.
right around there. And she came in, and she did one video when I heard she had one video up when I heard about her, and I went over and talked to her. Would you like to be educated on what's going on? Would you like to help us? No, no, no. I'm going to go talk to Paul Elam. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Paul's a government agent. So if you go talk to Paul Elam, just remember he's an agent. Oh, no, no. I'm going to go talk to Paul Elam, blah, blah, blah. And here we are. It's now June. It's the end of June. We've got a couple of days left in June. Oh, no. Today's the last day of June, right? It's
Yes, it
the
is.
first tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And so, so here we are on the last day of June 2019. What's Karen Strawn done in the last 8 years? What's she done? Well, she has regurgitated the talking points that men have been talking about for 100 years.
She
That's what
sure
she's
did.
done.
I bet she did do one thing extra, Peter. She managed to tell everybody that there's going to be a significant number of men that are not touchable or fuckable, that no woman will ever give the time of day to. And she made sure to stress a significant number, which stands for a high number.
Mm.
So this shows, and this came right out your female men's rights movement leader. So rather than say it's wrong for a number of men to be completely ostracized in society, and we need to figure out a solution to that. She's because she is the leader, right? She's going
Oh,
to
yeah.
she's
She's
going to
definitely the
say,
leader.
yeah,
Mm.
she's going to say, well, I know it's not fair, but there's going to be a significant number of men that are not fuckable or touchable, and no woman wants will ever give them the time of day. And her female friend says, yeah, and agrees with it. Okay? So what she just told you is why TFL and Incel exist.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what they're going to say. But those they never seem to think that there's quite a number of women who are not particularly attractive to any men either.
Oh no, but see,
But
these women still will be touchable. They still will have some guy that'll give them the time of day, right?
oh yeah, they will. They will. But there's a roughly equal number of women and men in a society. So the limiting factor is whether you have monogamy or polygamy in marriage, right?
Uh huh.
And in Islamic societies, you're allowed to have up to four wives. And so in a place like Saudi Arabia, the bottom 10% of guys, there are no women for the bottom 10% of guys. Well, those guys cause quite a bit of mayhem in those countries, right? And which is why in those countries, in Islamic countries, where a man can have up to four wives, so the guys at the bottom of the poorest guys miss out. One of the reasons you have to be escorted around by a male relative is if you're not, one of those guys might just grab you and kidnap you and rape you, right?
Yeah.
Because that guy, he's got no prospects. Okay. And that's what that's all about. I mean, when I lived in Saudi Arabia and we're talking to people about things, etc., the conversation about what happens with the guys who are the poorest guys at the bottom of the rungs, and they'll tell you, they're quite a bit of problem because they're the guys who are letting off bombs. They're the guys who are trying to overthrow the king. They're the guys who want a better deal out of life other than what they've got, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you can't really blame them because there is a strong drive in most men to procreate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it, you have to, people have to decide whether they're going to organize their society as with monogamy or polygamy, or do they legitimize or legalize prostitution? What is it? What is it that you're going to do? So those questions are still outstanding. I mean, I always find it completely ridiculous. It's my body, my choice. But her body, she cannot sell her body for sex. That's not okay. But kill my baby, that's okay.
Oh, but that's
That
fine because you don't got no rights, Peter. Because
yeah.
women don't need men to have babies, right, Peter?
No, no, they don't need men to have babies. They just need the money that the men provide to have the babies. That's all. And that money's taken at the point of a gun. So yeah, there's in any society, if you have a monogamous society, where you don't you can only marry one person, and you have relatively even numbers. Well, down at the bottom of the desirable women, those women are pretty not desirable, right?
Oh yeah,
And
the most ugly, gross, obese woman there is still has a choice. And you don't hear a guy getting up here and saying, well, there's going to be a significant number of women that are unfuckable, untouchable. They're never going to get a hug or a kiss. And furthermore, because these women are that way, other women are afraid to rub off on them. So they're going to not want to be around them. So that woman will be isolated, which is exactly what Karen said about men.
yeah, yeah, that's what they're saying about men. So that's you can say pretty much anything you like about men. Oh yeah, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. I'll criticize, call a fat woman fat, and say that she should go to the gym and get some exercise for her health. Well, usually that's fat shaming. You're not allowed to say that.
No,
So
because
this,
fast, big, and beautiful, Peter.
oh yeah, it's big and beautiful. The BBW women. Is it BBW or BWW or something? But
Yeah.
you've got these obese models now fashioning swimsuits and things like that, and they're like, "Love yourself at any size." It's like, yeah, love yourself at any size, but be prepared to have a relatively short life because you're going to have a heart attack, right?
There's going to be the heart attack. Then there's going to be the other dimension. She put on that bathing suit, and you saw where she got caught in a hailstorm.
Yeah,
The hail
it'd be
damage stands out. Look at me, I can see everywhere it hit you.
yeah. Well, a lot of these women, if a lot of these women, if they go into the water in their swimsuit, they might just be attacked by the orcas. The orcas might mistake them for the average whale. Yeah, unbelievable. But this is what's going on. It's just what's going on. And we've talked about it. The best we can do now is just keep letting the young men know this is well understood. We know it's happening. Everyone who needs to know how to fix it knows how to fix it, but they just won't because they continue to pander to women.
Well, women hate men so bad anymore that I have to say, as bad as we hate men, because women hate men and men hate men, and we see this openly in our face anymore, I got the perfect idea for them.
What's
Okay?
that?
I think that worldwide, we should make a rule, a law, worldwide for all countries. Every single baby boy that's born should automatically be neutered. Okay? Because if we neuter all the boys, we won't have to worry about our boy ever being born again. And then, of
Yeah,
course, people cuss and say, but wait a minute, that means we'll die off. And I'll say, well, no, ask the women. They don't need a man to get pregnant.
yeah. Don't need no man like no fish. Don't need no bicycle. We don't need a man.
Exactly.
We don't need a man.
And
But
just think when the Chad gets together with her and she's all right, I'm going to get my kid and abuse you, but the Chad's been neutered. You ain't
yeah,
getting your kid after, are you?
yeah. Well, when I was in Germany, I actually got the snip after I got divorced, right? And I was talking to the doctor, and I said, how's business? You're having a chat while you getting your snip, and he goes, oh, Pete, we're just flat out. And I went, well, how flat out are you? And he goes, well, we're working like 12 or 14 hours a day. We work two shifts, the other doctor and I, and so we spread our patients out over about 12, 14 hours. So we're working till 11 o'clock at night. We're working some Saturdays, and it's been like this for over a year. And all us guys who do this operation, we're all busy. And I'm like, really, like really, guys. He said, you have no idea how many men are getting this done. And he said, almost all of them are married, and none of them are telling their wives. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah. And I said to him, what do you think is bringing this on? And he said, recently, the this was back in 2007, right?
Right.
So he said recently there was a piece of legislation tabled in the German Parliament that would require a man to get permission from Planned Parenthood, and we all know who they are, from
Yep.
Planned Parenthood to get a vasectomy. And I looked at him, I like, what? And he goes, yeah. This woman, this woman actually presented a bill that said men would need permission from Planned Parenthood, which is 100% women, right? So a man would need permission from a woman for him to get a vasectomy, but any woman can abort her baby. No, that's not a problem.
Right.
And
That's
he said the reaction from German men was, really? Somebody's actually put this up for discussion? That's it. And that he said for a lot of German men, that was like the signal. That was like the penny dropping. That's it.
that. Well, it is. You know how one-sided the double standard is, right? And
Oh
there
yeah,
and there the double standard is clearly in your face now, isn't it?
yeah. A man, a man needs written permission from a woman to get a vasectomy,
On
but
his
a
own
woman
body,
of
right?
his body, his choice. No, 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 not his body, his choice. No, 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 no. But a woman can have an abortion, and the
but
man has
but
nothing
that's
to
her
say about it.
body,
That's her body, her choice, right?
right?
Yes.
It's just the man. That's not your body or your choice because she actually thinks she's a god because that hole in the side of her. I used to tell people all the time, women are famous for telling men they think with their second head that has no brains. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
and I actually had a woman say this to me, and I says to her, "Well, yeah, men do that." And I says, "And women, they think with the hole between their legs, and that hole goes to their head. Now they got a hole in their head, and their brains fell out, and they're walking zombies too." And
yeah,
she got mad and says, "I've never heard that." And I says, "No, you just did."
yeah. It just did now. Yeah. So it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well, and you can see the degradation of the public conversation. Right? You could just go onto any of these social media platforms, and you can see how women respond to any statement by a man, no matter how true it is. It is just hurling abuse, just hurling abuse. Like, doesn't matter what he says, it's just hurling abuse. And so the women have become extremely, extremely abusive in public. Nobody's holding them to account. So it's just going to get worse and worse. I don't see anything changing uh,
No.
in any time soon.
And they become obsessed with themselves so bad. You know, like when I was with Patty, her daughter was 22 at the time, Jessica, and she had over 300 pictures of herself on her mom's computer. You know, normal clothes, thong bikinis, every modeling, all this stuff. She took pictures of herself over and over and over. And she'd put it up on a platform on her mother's computer so that every minute it changed the picture on the desktop to another picture of her, to another picture of her. And her mother asked me, "Do you know anything about computers?" And I says, "Yeah." "Do you think you could remove them fucking pictures of my daughter off my computer?" She put them there and I can't figure out how to get rid of them. I says, "No problem." When I went to take them off, I found there was like 352 pictures of her. I was like,
Yeah,
"Holy shit." So then I deleted them all. And a week or so later, Jessica showed up at her mom's door. She comes in the house and she's standing there and the look she gave me, you seen it. The body language screamed it. She just stereotyped me. She hated
yeah,
my guts. I was too undesirable to be with her mom in her brain, right? And
yeah,
so she gets her mother back in her bedroom and tries to tell her mother how she needs to get rid of me.
yeah,
And then she comes out and she figures out that her pictures are gone from the computer and she starts cussing her mother, "Where's my pictures?" And her mom says, "I had Bill remove them." And Bill removed them. And she looked at me with the fucking evil eye, looked at her mother, got pissed off, and stormed out the door.
yeah, yeah. These women are just so self-absorbed. The selfies, just taking selfies all the time. I got to take my photograph. I got to take my photograph.
It
It's like,
does, it does. And
how about
it's
how about you?
disgusting.
Yeah, I said to him, how about you say something intelligent? if you want attention from a man, oh, don't treat me like a sex object. Don't objectify me. Well, stop taking photographs of yourself and actually say something intelligent. How about that
Yeah. And
as an
you,
alternative?
you got that, and then you have the other thing that I witnessed with Patty's other daughter. She had two daughters. They were way years apart because Jessica was 22 at the time, and Caitlin was only 11 years old. So she's a child, right?
Yeah.
We're coming out of the store. Caitlin's walking in front of me, and this little 4 or 5 year old boy is just staring hard time at Caitlin, right? And Caitlin notices that we're going out the door, and she don't realize I'm right behind her, and she says, "Oh, I know I'm beautiful. I'm so desirable." And I'm thinking, "Oh my God, you're only 11. It's already started."
Oh, it starts before then. It starts before then.
I know, but that was the thought in my head. It's like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, you're only 11 and it's already started."
Yeah, the girls know to concentrate on their looks from a very young age. Whereas years ago, what did my grandmothers learn or my mother learn when they were small girls? They learned how to cook, they learned how to clean, they learned how to keep house because that was the value that they were going to bring to a man for the rest of their life, right?
Yeah.
The the cooking, cleaning, keeping house, taking care of kids, making sure that everything ran well at home while hubby's out working 16 hours a day trying to make enough money to bring home the bacon, which is what you did back then, right?
Now what they
My,
give to a man is bad attitude.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back in when my father was young, he had three jobs when he was a young father, and times were pretty tough. It wasn't until quite a bit down the track that there was enough money for regular food, etc., or good food and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
That was a fair bit down the track. And even when I got married, and we were or before we got married, we were living together in Sydney, and the interest rates for our house went all the way up to 18%. It's like buying a house on a freaking bank Visa card. We ran out of money. We ran out of money, and it was pretty tough. It was until quite a bit down the track that I had enough money to be sure of food every week, etc. Those sort of things.
I think
And
you should go back in time, Peter, because if I go back to when my dad was a kid and his mother, then you go back to when my dad's mother was a kid, you have an
oh yeah,
air back then that was really good because back then when my dad's mother was a child, it didn't matter. The woman, the girl, the boy, both had to be out doing the same work. There was no favoritism towards gender whatsoever. They were
yeah,
both expected to do the exact same work, whether it was lifting logs, gardening, whatever it was. That girl was expected to do the same as the boy. And because of
yeah,
that, she grew up every bit as strong as any man ever was, okay? And she was really good at work. She split axe. She would split wood with an axe. I'm a kid standing there watching my grandma putting this big old chunk of log for a tree that she chopped up with a chainsaw up on a thing and swing that axe and split that wood. Okay? And you
yeah.
watched her do it, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of men in today's society that couldn't even do
Oh, yeah. Most men couldn't swing an axe today. Most men who swung an axe had probably cut their toe off, right?
that.
They wouldn't know how to swing an axe. They don't know how to swing an axe. They don't know how to shoot a gun. They don't know how to skin a rabbit or anything else like that. Couldn't pluck a chicken. The average man today wouldn't know how to pluck a chicken.
Oh no, the,
Let,
the average man today would really be in trouble if it wasn't for the grocery store.
yeah, yeah, that's right. I mean, I always have fun telling the stories. My uncle was a butcher, and I always have fun telling the stories of going out with my uncle to slaughter cows and sheep and cut them up and bring them back for the extended family, right? Because
Yeah,
we had on one side, the grandmother had six kids. There were six kids in the family. On the other side, there was five kids. So in our family, there's 11 families right now. One of them moved out of town to Canberra. So within our town, there were 10 families, right? And they all got to eat and all got a bunch of kids. And one of them's a butcher. So you know how that works. He says, yeah, okay, well, I'll buy some cows and some sheep from the local farmer. I'll cut them up for you, and that helps my whole family, right? That's meat for my whole family. I'm a
Yeah.
butcher. I help my family, right? But he needed a young offsider to help him, and I was his young offsider for a couple of years, going and killing these cows and the sheep and all the rest of it. And the average man today, he wouldn't have any clue how to do any of that. If you had the average man today left outside, he'd starve to death. He wouldn't be able to find himself anything to eat.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that would not be ready for survival and wouldn't be able to survive if they had to off the
No.
land. They wouldn't know how to plant a garden. They wouldn't know how to go hunt. They wouldn't know how to go do anything. Okay, they might know how to catch the fish, but will they know how to clean the fish? Okay. Uh,
The average guy today couldn't clean and cook a fish,
yeah.
let alone anything else.
Okay.
So
And if you want to be a vegetarian, it's probably better for you. But first, you got to know how to garden. And then you got to figure out where you're going to get the seeds without having GMO seeds because Monsanto's seen to it that the stores are loaded with GMO seeds.
yeah, the old suicide seeds. The seeds don't grow unless you have the right fertilizer, the right ingredients to germinate it, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
but
it's
that's the
gonna.
thing, Peter. They couldn't do it. Think about it. If you had to survive off the land, Peter and I know I could do a garden. Peter could do a garden, right? And we could go
I'd
hunt
have.
stuff, but you think about it, Peter and I'd stand a better chance. I think the only part we might have trouble with would be getting fresh water.
Yeah, yeah. Well, where I am, there's plenty of water. It just falls out of the sky, so that's good. In the
That's
middle of
actually a
in,
good thing, yes.
um, if you want a place where there's reliable rainfall, Fiji is a good spot, right? Because it's in the middle of the freaking ocean. So water's not the problem. But in large places like the US, etc., when the food runs out, people are going to be stealing the food off each other to just try and
um,
survive. And when the food to steal off each other runs out, then they're going to be killing each other and eating each other, right?
yeah, that's what you see coming. It
Basically, what?
was if shit hits the fan, I'll tell you where you don't want to be, in the middle of a big city. Second
Yeah,
place,
that's right.
second thing you don't want to do is don't want to think you're running out into the woods or up into the mountains to get away from society, because 5 million people had the exact same thought you did.
Yeah, yeah. This is going to be the problem. I mean, I always laugh at these guys that say, "Well, I've got my little hut, and I'm going to have my garden and all the rest." So it's like, what are you going to do when people find you and come for your food? I mean, how many bullets are you going to buy, right? How many bullets are you going to buy? How many guns are you going to have? Because when food runs out, people are going to be pretty nasty about that because it's
They're
going to
going
be a
to
matter of life
discover
and death.
what real money is, Peter. They're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
discover that gold, silver, that paper currency that you're working for has never been money. Real money is what you need to survive.
yeah. The things with real value is what you need to live on. Yeah,
So unless you're
that's
cooking your paper money and eating it, or melting your gold, drinking it, or your silver, drinking it, uh, I don't think your materialistic items is going to make you survive. And I don't care how much of it you have. When there's no food to be gotten, I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't think anybody's going to trade their last of their food for your billions of dollars.
yeah. And when that if that time comes, if you can't eat it, it's not going to be much value to anybody. But
Exactly.
well, we shall see how it goes. But things are continuing to slide down in many places, and it's not looking good.
Well,
But
back in the day, Peter, man protected the female. Do you see men wanting to protect the female in this situation?
no, that's the women are going to be on their own. The women are going to be on their own.
Yeah,
There's there's so many instances. I mean, you just go look on the online things. The women are demanding the men do this, that, or the other. It's like, no, you said you're equal. Do it yourself. By the way, look how you've been treating men for the last 50 years. And
yeah.
they've been treating us badly. that men are less and less inclined to be helping women.
Look at your bad attitude and you think there's nothing wrong with it. And you
Yeah,
walk around with a bad attitude and treat the guy like a piece of freaking dirt, lower than the
yeah,
dirt on the ground. And then
yeah,
you expect him to, okay, this is one of my favorites. She treats you like complete shit all day long, lower than dirt on the ground, does nothing but make your life living hell all day long. And then that night, she thinks that you're going to go make love to her to make up for how she treated you.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yep,
that's
that happens.
nuts. That's completely nuts. Well, this is makeup sex. No, 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 no.
No, no.
No, 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 no. You don't want me to stick anything in you because you wouldn't like what I'd be sticking you with.
Yeah, it's what can I say? It's looking pretty tough. It's looking pretty tough out there. But changing the subject a little bit, this big story about this Andy Nail guy from yesterday from Portland and got bashed by Antifa. This was really interesting because I was happened to be on Twitter while this was all happening, right?
Right.
And the guy's like 5'5" tall, right? And he's like going into this situation where the Antifa guys are going to be antagonistic and they're likely to bash him, right? He's put himself in that situation. Oh, surprise, surprise. They actually beat him up. Well, the first thing I said to him was, Andy, the first thing you should do is learn how to defend yourself properly, right? And then when he's had this video about the police come along, he's like, "Where were you? You're supposed to protect me." And I'm like on the Twitter thing, Andy, you're about 30 years too late if you think the police are there to protect you, right?
Yeah.
and, and so this went on all day, and then and it got a lot of news, and so I was pointing out, guys, I had 4 cops come through my door in Germany and assault me and drag me out and throw me in a cage for 19 days. I don't remember anybody telling a story about that, right? Oh, by the way, even earlier, I had 2 cops come into my house and assault me. Don't remember any stories about that. I said, maybe you should be looking at what's happening to all the men in the divorce courts. Yeah, this guy's got roughed up. One, he should have defended himself better. And two, if you can't defend yourself very well, you certainly shouldn't be relying on the police to defend you because you're not a woman. So that's you're out of luck. You're not going to be defended anymore.
No, you're
But it's
not.
a it's a it's a big story, right? Guy got bashed up. Big story. 100 million men screwed over in the divorce courts. Nah, that's not a story. That's not a story, right?
No, that's not a story, Peter. We don't care about that, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah.
did you seen that disgrace that happened in New York? Okay, where
Which
this
one?
where all the about the 100 guys that showed up and went drove across the country to meet their date, and
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, yeah.
and it was pathetic how all these guys were so fucking pussy whipped that they're out there competing with each other for this female that I would have said up yours and walked away.
Yeah, well, I'm 55. You're a couple of years old, and I would say no, thanks, ma'am. That's just not good enough for me, right?
Exactly. That all these guys are so desperate, but it does tell you something. It
Oh
screams
yeah.
it loud in your face how bad it really is for men.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The men. There's so many simps out there. The men are desperate for a little bit of female attention, and women come out into the public and they get endless male attention, and you gotta love it. The women going, "Oh, the male gaze, and we're not just sex objects, and don't objectify us, and blah blah blah." But here's 500 pictures of me in a bikini, right?
Yeah.
And you go into any major newspaper and see how many stories are women in bikinis up to 70 years of age. Oh, look how fantastic they look in this bikini. I'm
Oh,
like,
I know. Tell me
uh,
about it.
put
Sickening,
it put
isn't
it
it?
away.
Yeah. Please
It's like
cover that back up, okay? You know,
like put a burqa on it, right? That'd be
and
good.
Merlin says, yes, some lawyers are trying to change the laws but the system won't allow it. Well, of course, the system ain't going to allow it because they didn't accidentally make the laws.
Yeah, and there aren't any lawyers actually trying to change any legislation to the favor of men. There's
No,
there's some there's some there's some lawyers having a little bit of a chat about it, but there's nothing serious going on.
I don't think they're going to try, and if they do, they know they're not going to get it through anyhow because it isn't like the laws were accidentally created.
No,
They
no,
knew exactly what they were doing when they created what they created. They
yeah,
have no
yeah.
intentions in changing them.
Yeah, I was in a discussion this week with some guy on I can't remember on LinkedIn or Twitter, but anyhow, I was saying to him that the legislation, the family law legislation today, came straight out of 1918. I was on YouTube. That's right. Came straight out of 1918 communist Russia. That's what our legislation is. He says, no, that didn't happen. I said, well, what do you mean? No, that didn't happen. I mean, how do you know that didn't happen? He said, well, I've never read anything about it. So what
Okay,
do you
so
think?
so he was alive in 1918 to know
I said, well,
that.
you haven't read anything about it. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right? Now, I tell you, if you go and you start doing a few Google searches and look at, what happened in 1918 and what happened with the legislation around marriage in Russia and all that, if you actually go and do some searching, you'll actually find out about it. And he's like, really? He said, by the way, the guy who undid that legislation, his name was Joseph Stalin. So if a piece of legislation is so bad and destroying the country so badly that Joseph Stalin is the guy who repeals it, you know it's pretty bad stuff. You know it's pretty bad stuff. And then, of course, I also explained to him, I said, if you go and look after the war, the Russians imposed the exact same divorce law on many of the Eastern European states right after the war. So, and if you go and look, you'll find that in 1946 they imposed that on Romania, and the Romanians had disaster. And then Ceausescu was the guy who repealed it in 1966, which is why he was out of favor so much with the Russians. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. Have you not read any of this? And he's like, no, I haven't read any of that. And they're like, well, why would you have an opinion on a subject where you haven't read anything about it? If you haven't read anything about it to know what was going on, maybe you should not make loud proclamations about what did or did not happen.
So yeah,
And he's like,
because
oh,
yeah, to
yeah.
say what did or didn't happen when you never even look into it. But we have a
Yeah.
lot of people that do that already. You know,
Yeah.
I had a guy leave a comment the other day on my page, and he was a MGTOW stan, okay, and he tells me in the comment that I must be reading too much conspiracy theory. Okay, so I was smart ass. Even Warren came on there and got smart with him, and we named off all these presidents and leaders that have openly put NWO in your face all these years, and that they must all be conspiracy theorists, tinfoil wearing hats.
Yeah. I mean, there's nobody's hiding what's going on anymore.
No, it's not it. It's
Nothing's
openly
hidden.
in your face, and we still have so many people that just can't see it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
called it the zombie apocalypse in my live stream yesterday. I said, the zombie apocalypse is real. We're living it right now. We're looking at it. What you're witnessing.
ah, I'll tell you, I've got this story to do. I haven't done it yet, right? It's in my list of newspaper articles, but talk about zombie apocalypse, right?
Right,
Great story I picked up this week. This woman, right? She's coming out of the yoga thing or whatever. She's coming to the edge of the street, and she's reading a phone, and she's without looking steps onto the street reading a phone, right?
right,
So the woman, so the scenario is, and it's all she admits it. She stepped onto the street without looking, and lucky for her, what hit her was a guy on a push bike and not a guy driving a car, right? So lucky for her, Just it was some guy on a push bike who ran into it, right? And so what happens? So you got to remember the woman is looking at a phone, steps off the curb into the street. Luckily enough, gets hit by a push bike. Does she say
Push
to it? Does
bike.
she say to herself, "Thank God I didn't get hit by a car and killed"? No, she says, "I need to sue you for hitting me and injuring me." Right? And so she takes this guy to court, and I'm like, "This is a ridiculous case, obviously." Takes this guy to court. The woman judge finds that the man is halfway responsible because he should have anticipated the possibility that the woman would step off the curb.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
that's that's you talk about zombie apocalypse. We're
There
so
you
much into
go.
the zombie we're so much into the zombie apocalypse that a woman can't be held responsible for stepping off the curb onto a roadway. No, that's not her responsibility. The people using the roadway have to anticipate that she might just be stupid enough to step out in front of them, right?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, see, this is Peter's correct. That is a good example of the zombie apocalypse in your face. I think they
Yeah,
have it all over Minnesota. We have crosswalks that won't even be at a corner. It'll be in the middle of a block, okay? And they got a flashing light with a sign of the pedestrian. And if somebody's walking across the street in that crosswalk, your job as the driver is to be aware of it and stop, okay? Well, you think about it. You got heavy traffic, whatever. Maybe people are moving along at 40 miles an hour, okay? And you see the car coming because you're the pedestrian. And you got this thought in your head that I have the right of way, I'm the pedestrian. And of course, my thought frame is when car meets body, who wins? Car
yeah.
wins.
The car wins, right?
But you do have the right to your broken bones and your injuries and your suffering. And maybe you get lucky, you won't suffer and you'll die.
Yeah, yeah. That's this great one on YouTube with this Russian female police officer who walks out of the police police station down the steps, just walks straight across the walkway, the pedestrian crossing, and this guy collects her. She didn't look right. She just walked straight out because I'm walking on a pedestrian crossing. I'm invincible. I should be protected. And this is women are getting more and more into the frame of mind that I should be protected 24/7. My little bubble around me should be a safe space, and it's not.
No,
It's
it's not. It won't be. It never
but
will be. But they got this fantasy in their head.
yeah, but I just thought that was I mean, that's such a great example of zombie apocalypse. You stepped out onto the street and got hit by a cyclist. You weren't thankful you weren't killed. You had to sue the guy, and you had to get some money out of him.
Yeah. Well, it is true. I mean, you had that case years ago that always stood out to me where this woman was actually being mugged by a guy, and this homeless man came to her rescue. And in trying to rescue her, he got stabbed by the guy perp, right?
Yeah,
Now, the woman, she walked away, leaving the guy who rescued her on the ground, stabbed to die. She
yeah,
didn't even call paramedics.
yeah. It's happened quite a few times, that sort of thing, where the white knight comes in, gets himself stabbed and killed. That's not so unusual. Sad to say.
And she didn't care because, see, he's just a guy. He's not
Yeah,
even a human. So what? He owed that to her, right?
yeah, yeah. They're the slaves. They're just meant to serve the women. But it's coming back to bite them because there was that classic one. Must be about a year ago now, where this woman was mouthing off at this guy, just mouthing off, mouthing off, mouthing off, and he turned around and gave her one smack right on the tip of the nose, and she's gone down on the ground. She's laying on the ground with her phone, right, in her hand. She's laying on the ground. This other guy comes along and picks up the phone and walks away, right? It's like that's where we're at. Now we're at the stage of some woman is mouthy, she's going to get punched in the face, and if she has her phone in her hand, some other guy will just take the phone. That's okay.
That's called
That's
payback.
okay now.
That's called paybacks.
It's called payback, and there's going to be payback in big ways. The women are going to get payback in big ways.
Ways they never thought that could ever happen. So,
Yeah, that,
you got to really honestly think about it. When they want to tell you how women are smarter than men, well, yeah, I agree. They have outsmarted themselves.
yeah. Women smarter than men is always a good one.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about that. Now, the other thing that's happening, I don't know whether you've seen the big story in Australia. There's this guy called Israel Folau, right? And this Israel Folau guy is a Christian. He's a Fijian, actually, and it's a big story here in Fiji, right? Because he's made the Australian rugby team, and he's a Christian guy, right?
Right.
And so he came out and said on his not Instagram. That was it. On his Instagram, he said that all you people who are gay are going to hell, right? All you people engaging in all this stuff are going to hell, as you know, it says in the Bible. Oh my God! This has ignited an absolute firestorm all across Australia, and he's been sacked from the national rugby team. This is rugby union. He's been sacked from the national rugby team for this comment, right? And he's standing by it. He's saying, "Well, it's what it says in the Bible. It's what I believe, and you know they're welcome to do it. I just think they're going to hell, right?" Uh, but oh no, he's got to lose his ability to earn his income for that, right?
Yeah.
So now it's interesting because the straight heterosexual women are saying, "Well, hang on a minute, they're coming for our man and blah blah blah, etc. etc. These LGBT terrorists and blah blah blah." The women are complaining, and I was talking to this woman today saying, "Have you forgotten that for the last 50 years, every time you women wanted to get something, you screamed sexist at us men? Like whatever we said, you screamed sexist, 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 sexist until you got what you wanted." And the LGBT alphabet group understands because you did it that all they need to do is scream homophobic, you know, homophobic, you're a homophobe, blah blah blah, to get what they want. They're doing what you they're doing what you women have been doing for the last 50
All of
years.
the women don't like it. They hate it.
Oh, they hate being told that, right? They hate being told that.
They
And
not only hate it, Peter, I think it's hilarious.
well, the fracturing and the fragmentation is it's growing. You know, you got the LGBT group. Oh, this who was that woman, J.K. Rowling, who wrote all the Harry Potter things, right?
Yes.
She's come out as what they had this thing called turf. I don't know, but trans something. A turf says that a trans man is not a real woman, right? Is apparently what it is. I didn't even know there's a name for this until it popped up this week. J.K. Rowling is bad. She's a turf. She needs to. We need to burn our Harry Potter books, etc. I'm like, what is this about? I mean, J.K. Rowling is about as far left Nazi feminist as you could possibly get. Right? She is absolute horrid woman. Right? And what could she have possibly done? So I actually had to look this up because it's like I just don't follow this stuff anymore. And she doesn't believe that a man who's transitioned to a woman is actually a real woman. And all the feminists are upset about this now because the feminists are so short of real women as members, they're taking men as members now, right? it's, so it's like you got the LGBT group now within that that's fracturing because there's some who believe that the trans are not real women or real men or whatever else like that. It's just fracturing, and it's like Yeah, well, people have been talking about complete nonsense for the last 30 years. Where do you think this was going to finish up? So here we go.
Well, Peter, I think it's not going to get any better anytime soon. I suspect what we're going to see is eventually NWO is going to finish their plans, and you won't have to worry about having a woman in your life, but you won't be losing out on much anyhow because anymore having a woman in your life is like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer.
Yeah, in the West, I mean, I just the animosity between men and women is so great that I just don't see things working out very well. And even today, they're just the endless stream of hatred and slander and lies and anger from women directed at men. It's just endless. It
Oh
just
no!
never
Oh my
ends.
God! You're so correct. It is totally endless. Okay, and then on top of it, you got men that are freaking such simps that turn their head to this and just accept it and
Yeah,
go around bashing other men for telling the truth and running to these women that are going to throw them under a bus all because
yeah,
they think they're going to get some kind of validation from this female who don't even like them.
yeah. Just using them to get what they want.
Yes, complete
Well,
usury. And that's what
yeah,
it is. You know, why would you want to live with somebody who's going to be nothing but the big pain in your ass because she's using you? So while you're at work, she's going to drain your bank account and it's going to be your fault, okay? Which technically it is because by now, if you can't see what women are doing to men, you actually deserve what you're getting.
yeah. Now it's like, guys, we've been out there for long enough telling you about what's going on. If you look at this stuff and go, well, that'll never happen to me. My cupcake will never do that. Well, you kind of deserve what you're going to get at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
you're going to find out your cupcake wasn't a cupcake after all.
Oh yeah, but they're still going on. The one I love is all the married guys. Oh, my wife is wonderful, and she would never do anything else like that. And then suddenly she does that and does whatever, and they're like, "I'm so shocked. I'm so surprised." It's like, yeah, you're shocked and surprised. How about that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what did he stick his finger in the outlet to get shocked,
Yeah,
or did he walk around with a blindfold on his face his whole life?
yep. There's a lot of guys still wearing the blindfold. A lot of guys still wearing the blindfold, and there'll be a lot more guys suicide yet. There'll be a lot of hockey mask time, and
I do
I just
believe. I do believe. I think Peter has got himself a new series. I played one years ago called It Happened Again. And I think we have part two of It Happened Again. And Peter's going to do this series. And he's going to be so accurate about what he's telling you. And I don't think you're going to run out of reports. I think you'll be able to show it again and again and again. I watched your video the other day where you were reading off the Daily Mail. Okay. And that day alone, I found three other stories of the same damn thing you just read.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of them, but
No.
I've got I keep a little file of things, and guys are sending me articles. I've got more than 20 newspaper articles just sitting there in my file at the moment. And I mean, they'll age a little bit, so I'll have to take some out, etc. But any day of the week, you go on any of the major newspapers. I just happen to use the Daily Mail because it's very easy to find stories there, and they cover stories from all around the world. But any day of the week, you can go there and you can find two or three stories about some guy killed his wife, or some woman killed her kids. They're there
They're there
all
all the
day,
time.
every
The
day.
only thing I don't like about it, Peter, is they are famous for doing this, reporting one half the story. One half the story. Peter, it's
Yeah,
like you were working, you're married, you got your wife, you love your wife, right? You went off and worked to make the money for the house, and she was home taking care of the kids, right? And you had a hard day at work, so you come home and beat the fuck out of your wife just because you can. I don't know men that beat the fuck out of the person they love just because they can. But
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
we report one half the truth on a regular basis, and it's always the woman is the victim, victim, victim. The man is the perpetrator and the monster. And then when the man does get put in the spotlight as being the victim, then we give that just a little fragment of attention, and we move on to the next because we wouldn't want the public to know that was a victim because he's not allowed to be a victim.
Yeah. Yeah. The men are not allowed to be a victim. I mean, the amount of insults that come my way. Oh, you're just trying to pretend to be a victim. No, I've actually been criminally victimized for 12 years. I'm actually a
Yeah,
victim of a long series of crimes. Yeah, well, don't try and get any sympathy from me. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just telling you, I'm actually a victim of crimes.
but
Yeah, well,
you're not
blah,
allowed.
blah,
Yep.
blah.
Yeah,
Oh no,
that's
you're not
it.
allowed to be a victim if you're a man.
No, something about a penis between your legs disqualifies you from being a victim. It doesn't matter if she hits you in the head with a hammer. You're still not a victim.
Yeah, yeah. That's how that goes. But
You
yeah,
know.
these stories on the stories in the newspaper, they're just they roll past every day, every day, every day. They're there. I can go to a newspaper site like the Daily Mail any day of the week, and I can pick out 10 stories any day of the week.
Oh yeah. Do you remember
That's how
Katie
it
Piper?
goes.
Do you remember Katie Piper?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. See, and I always felt well. Actually, as wrong as it is because I don't promote violence, but in a way, what did she do? She created her very own situation.
yeah, yeah.
I always
That's what they
think
do.
about, but you know what? Even when she had the acid in her face and she felt her face melting off her body, okay, she still had options after all that.
Yeah. Some simp is going to wife her up.
Yeah, but a
Yeah,
man, he don't got no options. But a woman, this just shows how desperate men are. Because
yeah,
this
yeah,
woman can literally do anything onto another guy she wants. She can be beautiful. She can be ugly, but ugly, okay? She can be nasty, grossly obese, Goodyear blimp. She still has an option. But a significant number of men are not touchable or fuckable, according to your leader.
according according to the world's leading MRA, Karen Strawn.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly like that. Exactly like, and she's so gorgeous. Karen is so
Oh,
gorgeous.
yes, don't
Wow.
she so
Yeah,
gorgeous? Yes.
she's hot. Oh, and let me do my video in my kitchen in my little singlet. Right. Let me do my video in my kitchen with my singlet
Well, Peter,
because
she even put down her own son.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't doubt that. I haven't heard what she
Yeah, she
said.
what she
What'd
said.
she say?
She talked about her son, her oldest son. He had a chance to get laid, and because he didn't do what he was supposed to do, he never got laid, and it's his own fault.
Yeah, fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
so there's how much she loves her own son. See, the problem was he was born a boy. I really
yeah,
believe a lot of little 4, 5, 6 year old kids with a single mom and they say my son's trans. No, she's a man hater. She had a boy and she's got to do away with the boy because it needs to be a girl. It can't be a monster.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of these boys, a lot of these little boys, looking at how the girls are treated so much better than they are, and you can't blame a boy who's like 5 years old for saying, "Gee, I'd like to be treated like that." Right?
Yeah,
That looks much better than how I'm being treated. Right?
and unfortunately, he'll never be treated like that.
Yeah.
He's going to
He'll
find
be
out it's going to get worse and worse for him as he gets older.
Yeah, but all these, I keep making the point to these women. There's not one mother of a boy or a man who is helping us secure the rights of men and boys. There's not even one. I mean, certainly not Karen Strawn for a start, right?
Oh, hell no. Your phony
So,
leader is here for you.
yeah, certainly not Karen Strawn. And I was having a dig at Christina Hoff Sommers this week as well. She said something about this Andy No thing. Oh, this is really terrible. And I said, yeah, it's really terrible what happened to Andy No, but the 100 million men screwed over the divorce courts and the millions of suicides that happened out of that, that's not a problem. Andy knows a problem, but all these men who committed suicide is not a problem. Thanks very much, Christina. And
Yeah.
all those people came to defend her. How dare you speak about Christina Hawk Summers like this? Yeah, well, I'm speaking about her like that. Bad luck, right?
Well, I would say you
And
should get used to it
get
because,
used to it, yeah,
yeah.
because the men are pushing back. The
Well,
men are pushing back.
real men will push back, and that's exactly what should happen.
Yeah, and when it turns violent, it's going to turn really violent. So, I mean, most times when you have civil unrest, it goes along, goes along, goes along, goes along, goes along, and then when it turns violent, it gets really violent really quickly. That doesn't it doesn't ramp up slowly. It just goes bang.
No, because it's
So,
been building up like a bomb for years,
yeah,
and
yeah,
by
it's building
time
up.
when it goes off, I'm sorry, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, it's going to go off like a wildfire, I think.
Yeah.
So we shall see. We'll see how many more years this continues on, and then we'll see what happens. I hope I'm around to see it, so I can stand there and say "told you so" from a nice safe distance.
I can't say I'll be around to see it, but I'll tell you what, I know it's coming. But
Something's coming. Yeah,
yes.
something's coming.
But I think we're going to go ahead and cut the live stream. We've been here about an hour and a half, so
Yep. Okay.
I think we'll end
So
it this week. And
before you go, I'd like to say thanks very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
hey, I
And
appreciate you being here, Peter. I know we got people out here that love to see you over here. They love to see the two of us working together. And I actually like working with Peter. I always have. So,
yeah,
he'll be back
well,
again. We'll set up another time. Maybe one day we'll do them once a week or something.
yeah. Well, it's always good to be on for a chat and just go over the recent events and things like that. But look, from the days way back when we were doing the radio show, it's just gone downhill since then. There's
Oh,
not been
it sure
any
has.
improvement.
There is no improvement. It's only gotten worse.
It's gotten worse. It's certainly gotten worse in the last 7 years. I mean, 7 years ago, I was saying, well, things are not looking good. Things are
Oh,
going
yeah.
downhill. Yeah. Well, now RPM is doing a Hockey Mask Time series, and I was saying to this woman the other day, I was saying to this woman, you know, guys are running Hockey Mask Time series where they're talking about men killing women, and the guys in the audience are cheering. Said, you women want to think about this. Men are cheering. Men are cheering videos about women getting killed. You want to think about this. This is not good. One, it's funny, but two, you want to think about this. This is not good.
That should be a red flag. It should tell them something, shouldn't it? But it's not.
Not telling them. It's not telling them anything yet.
No.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And we'll get together occasionally, maybe every week or two, and we'll go across the stories of the week and we'll see how we go. Yeah.
Yes, I think that'd probably be good with that. Hey, guys, thanks for being here. And thank you, Peter. And y'all have a good one.
Thanks, guys.